are we providing safekeeping of the cash to a customer at the time when the customer wants it? Customer wants to deposit, वो धंधा चला रहा है अपना मार्केट में, उसकी दुकान बंद होती है रात को 11-12 बजे, ब्रांचें कितने बजे बंद होती हैं बैंक की? 5 बजे। वो 11 बजे कैश को लेके किधर जाए? In the month of December and Jan, we are now opening up to 40-45% of the bank's total consumer accounts every month via a self-remote, completely digital, internet-based medium.
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of All Things Money. Today we've got Mr. Yahyah, who's the Chief Digital Officer at Bank Alfalah, and we're just going to talk about anything and everything, digital banking and payments today. Hello Yahyah, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you for having me.
So Yahyah, you're the Chief Digital Officer at Bank Alfalah. Tell us about the journey, how the journey has been in terms of really just launching an app, moving behaviors, changing behaviors. How just did everything work out in terms of that?
It's been a relatively average sized journey. So we started off in 2018 when we formally set up the digital banking group. And we had an app since 2016, but 2018 mein we formally launched what we now know as the digital banking group. And the journey has been interesting, at times difficult, the other times challenging, but in the end I think it has had a sweet taste in our mouth when we see where the digital banking has come from. So just to give you some stats, when we started off, हमारी app के अंदर monthly active users were probably less than 55,000 monthly active users. Today we are almost touching 1.1 million monthly active users, alhamdulillah. Back then our throughput from our app was almost negligible, corresponding with the customers we had. Today our app only throughput is about, annualized basis is about 5.5-6 trillion rupees, mashallah. So now and then from other digital channels which we'll get a chance to talk about, hopefully we also developed Pakistan ki pehli cash deposit machine जो कि indigenously engineered cash deposit machine थी. अभी हम इंशाल्लाह very soon will be launching instant clearance of checks जो कि पाकिस्तान में अभी तक digitize नहीं हुए. But so put it in a nutshell, we have seen the successes. The digital banking in Pakistan overall was the net beneficiary of COVID. It changed people's habits and it forced many people to come onto the digital channels, whereas they were reluctant before probably. It also forced financial institutions such as ourselves to take digital banking and the security of the digital banking much more seriously. So when I say to you that we are pumping 6 trillion rupees ka throughput from this small little app which is available on Play Stores, it's a significant number. So right now we are at about 86% of all retail transactions, at least in the case of our banks, flow through digital channels, of which about 65% flow through the app. So now you imagine कि अगर हमारी app degrade हुई होती है at any point in time, that means मेरा 65% of my bank's network has been shut or affected. So that's that on the app side. Then it is not just the app. Mostly people know us as the bank with Alpha, the app, but we have multiple applications. We have Alpha Business, which is extensively used by businesses and merchants. We were having the conversation earlier on. We also launched Pakistan की पहली bank-led e-commerce marketplace called Alpha Mall, जो कि buy now pay later marketplace है हमारी, जिसमें we are doing significant volumes. And उसका हमारा idea ये था कि we wanted, हमारे आने से पहले, if somebody wanted to buy something on installments, if I had said to you installment पे कोई चीज़ लेनी है, आपके ज़हन में शायद सुरमा वाला का नाम आता, right? No formal banking sector was on that. You could have said कि मैं credit card पे payment कर लूँगा, but that means कि 30 days के बाद आपको उसका full payment करनी होगी. किस्तों पे कोई चीज़ available नहीं थी from the formal financial sector. So we've started that. फिर हमने पेमेंट गेटवेज बनाए, फिर हमने डिजिटल फाइनेंसिंग की बात की. So the journey continued. So I will talk about it during the course of this conversation.
So you say 1.1 million monthly active users. That's a lot of users. What percentage of your, let's say, depository relationships would that?
So that's about over 80%. So
also over 80% of your, let's say, retail deposit relationships use the Alpha app
Absolutely.
to do their transactions.
Yes.
So yeah, just zooming out a bit, don't you think this just basically means the time it arrives to actually start closing physical infrastructure or branches of that?
Interesting. No, is my answer. देखें पूरी दुनिया में, मैं पाकिस्तान की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, जहाँ पर भी डिजिटल बैंक्स हैं, दे हैव स्ट्रगल टू रेज डिपॉजिट्स. चाहे वो एटम, मोन्जो, स्टारलिंग, N26, किसी भी डिजिटल बैंक की बात करें, दे हैव स्ट्रगल टू रेज डिपॉजिट्स. हर कंज्यूमर किसी चीज़ पे ट्रस्ट करने से पहले उसकी हाई स्ट्रीट प्रेजेंस चाहता है. मैं और आप भी चाहते हैं. सो जो हाई स्ट्रीट पे नज़र आएगा, जो हाई स्ट्रीट पे ज़्यादा बेहतर नज़र आएगा, उसके पास हम ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल होंगे डिपॉजिट रखवाने के लिए. हालांकि इंटरेस्टिंगली पीछे डिपॉजिटर प्रोटेक्शन स्कीम सबके लिए बराबर होती है जो सेंट्रल बैंक या रेगुलेटर देता होता है. बट द बेटर द हाई स्ट्रीट प्रेजेंस, द मोर द ट्रस्ट, हायर द डिपॉजिट्स. It's a simple game, and that game is not only just being played in Pakistan, so the world over. So आपके सवाल का जवाब ये है कि no, we say branches in Pakistan will stay, in fact grow. Okay? The question should be what happens inside a branch shall materially change. आज की तारीख में, या कम से कम चलो जब से डिजिटल बैंकिंग नहीं सक्सेसफुल हुई थी, आज से 2 साल पहले तक, ब्रांचेस वर अ सर्विस सेंटर. चेक और कैश की सर्विसिंग करते थे वो. अब हमारी कोशिश ये है कि हम अपनी ब्रांचेस को मूव कर रहे हैं इनटू एडवाइजरी एंड सेल्स सेंटर. सो मोर transactions are now, as I said, 86% of the transactions are now happening on digital channels. So our branches have more time to spend time with the customers in advising them about their wealth and doing sales.
So that's an interesting point. I fully agree with you there. You know, that's one of the bigger risks I see with digital banks, because you can't really get a deposit till you're really certain about someone's presence. Like, I mean, I would say I'm a digital native, but I do not put any money in any app which does not have a physical presence, even though I haven't been to a bank branch in the longest time. But just the fact that, okay, you can see something on the road, some presence, you know, it's just safe. It's just psychological more than anything else. So fully agreed there. So yeah, you said about branches more being sales and advisory centers. How does the digital evolution then work out? So we'll see a lot of the operational stuff, a lot of cash management essentially being run through the app. What else can be run through the app? What added features do you think we can have?
Yeah. And an app supported by the ancillary digital infrastructure. So I don't just look at app as an isolation channel in isolation. I look at app as an omni-channel experience, right? Just like if I give you the example of Netflix, अगर आप Netflix पे अपने टैबलेट पे मूवी देख रहे होंगे, वही Netflix अगर आप अपने आके टीवी के ऊपर लगाएंगे तो मूवी वहीं से स्टार्ट होगी जहाँ से आपने टैबलेट में छोड़ी होगी. That's the best, easier to understand example of an omni-channel experience, right? So channel hopping becomes convenient and easy. अच्छा, ऐप के ऊपर आपने जिक्र किया, तो पहले मैं आपको ऐप का जवाब दे देता हूँ, then I'll talk about the ancillary thing. देखें, ऐप, what we say is app should not just be a reflection of what has been happening in the branches, because otherwise जो branch में काम हो रहा था और वही आपने app पे कर लिया तो you are as good as a branch. Digital is not about being as good as a branch. App should do things that the branches were not being able to do, right? App should instantly fulfill things. App should give you advice which does not depend on the mood of the person or the quality of the person who is giving you the advice. So app में हमेशा कहता हूँ कि app जो होती है ना, app का कोई mood नहीं होता, app का कोई shutdown time नहीं होता, right? It would be as cheerful at 2 a.m. in the morning as it would be at 9 a.m. in the morning also, right? So then we have to develop things around wealth management, around consumer and SME financing there. around personal finance management, around having a statement in your app which is meaningful. आज आप हमारे पाकिस्तान के किसी भी बैंक की स्टेटमेंट को उठाकर देख लें, आपको कुछ समझ नहीं आता सिवाय डेबिट और क्रेडिट के. उस पर लिखा हुआ आता है, मैं इसलिए मिसाल दे रहा हूँ बिकॉज द लिसनर्स होपफुली वुड बी एबल टू रिलेट टू दैट. लिखा आता है मनी रिसीव फ्रॉम 1099955 into account 5556672.
Some narrative.
What does it mean? Nothing. It doesn't mean anything to you. Wouldn't it be nice, because the information exists, if it says money received from Ammar Ahmed into your Pak Rupees account?
But
it's just a mapping exercise,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Aliases. So and then lots of other things. So एक तो बात होगी कि ऐप के अंदर ह्यूज गुंजाइश मौजूद है, नॉट जस्ट टू फर्स्ट रेप्लिकेट एवरीथिंग दैट द कस्टमर एक्सपेक्ट्स टू रिसीव फ्रॉम अ बैंक इन अ ब्रांच, बट मोर, राइट. एंड मोर की मैंने आपको कुछ चंद मिसालें दे दी, बट इट हैज़ मल्टीपल थिंग्स इन इट. देन for example, there's a whole area about the account management, the account maintenance, dormancy removal, KYC update, cards की blocking unblocking. आपका आज कार्ड होता है, when you wish to block your card कि मेरा ATM पे चले, e-commerce पे ना चले, POS पे चले, इतनी ट्रांजैक्शन का चले, इंटरनेशनल पे चले, लोकल पे चले, ये सारी ऑप्शंस ऐप के अंदर मौजूद होनी चाहिए कस्टमर्स के लिए. ब्रांच में नहीं मौजूद है ये, राइट. दिस इज माई एग्जाम्पल ऑफ के व्हाट एप्स कैन डू इंस्टेंटली दैट द ब्रांचेस कैन नॉट डू. फिर जो दूसरी आपकी बात है, जो मैं एंसिलरी सिस्टम्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, वो ये कि दैट होल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर शुड सपोर्ट द ऐप. एंड सो मैंने जिक्र किया कि हमने आज से कोई तकरीबन 4 साल पहले लोकल इंजीनियरिंग करके अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह पाकिस्तान की पहली इंडिजिनसली इंजीनियर्ड कैश डिपॉजिट मशीन बनाई. 4 साल पहले पाकिस्तान में, और आज अल्लाह का शुक्र है हमारा अपना नेटवर्क कोई तकरीबन 700 के करीब हमारा नेटवर्क है कैश डिपॉजिट मशीन्स का, which is roughly about 60-65% of a branch network, और इंशाल्लाह इस साल हम जो है वो उसको हम 80% ले जाने की हमारी ख्वाहिश है. आज से पाकिस्तान, Ammar, as you know from your rich experience of writing on economy, Pakistan has one of the highest cash to GDP ratio.
Yes.
हमारा कोई 9.4 ट्रिलियन रुपीस का कैश टू GDP रेशो है. This is 1/3 of the cash which has been printed by the central bank but is not on banks' balance sheets. It has never made its way onto the balance sheet. So this is circulating in the market. That means we are a cash dominated economy. अब जब ये सारा कैश रात को ये सारा का सारा अब ये मार्केट में ट्रैवल कर रहा है, रात को इस कैश को सेफ कीपिंग चाहिए होती. बैंक का पहला मकसद क्या है? Forget about digital banking for a minute. What do banks do? Banks provide safe custody of your money to a depositor. जब वो safe custody दे देते हैं, उस पे फिर वो act करते हैं as a risk manager to lend it to whoever they think is risk worthy. ठीक है, that's the. हम तो पहले ही काम नहीं सही कर रहे हैं. Are we providing safe keeping of the cash to a customer at the time when the customer wants it? कस्टमर वॉन्ट्स टू डिपॉजिट, वो धंधा चला रहा है अपना मार्केट में, उसकी दुकान बंद होती है रात को 11-12 बजे. ब्रांचें कितने बजे बंद होती हैं बैंक की? 5 बजे. वो 11 बजे कैश को लेके किधर जाए? नहीं. सो आई मीन वी कुड नॉट हैव ऑफर्ड अ ह्यूमन बेस्ड 24/7 ब्रांच नेटवर्क, सो वी सेड कि ओके विल डिप्लॉय कैश डिपॉजिट मशीन. हम जब 4 से पहले कैश डिपॉजिट मशीन डिप्लॉय करने गए तो जो ब्रांडेड कैश डिपॉजिट मशीन्स थी वो $30,000 की मशीन थी. This was not a scalable option for us. कितनी लगा लेते हैं हम मार्केटिंग शो के लिए? हम 20-30 लगा लेते हैं. Then we did local engineering, फिर हमने उसको डेवलप किया, which came out to be at a fraction of literally a fraction of a cost of this. अब हम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह $500 billion कलेक्ट करते हैं annualized basis पे from these machines. कोई 40-42 अरब रुपए महीना इन मशीनों के अंदर जमा हो रहा है. No human interaction, and the majority of the money is coming after 5 o'clock when the branch is shut down. So क्या किया हमने? We provided the basic banking to the merchant who really needed it at the time when he wanted it. And also it's not, the money is not only for Bank Alfalah. So the other thing that we did was we said, अच्छा, if you really wanted to solve this problem, this should be bank agnostic. So a customer can deposit money in any bank account The only difference is when he's depositing money in any bank account, he pays a small charge, ₹125 ₹150 का charge देता है, और अगर बैंक अल्फा में जमा कराता है तो वो free है. That's the only different distinction. Otherwise, and so the significant majority of this money is destined for other banks, and a significant majority is coming after 5 o'clock. So the answer to your question is, the app has the potential of doing a lot more than we have been using it for, and it's fantastic. In fact, one of the criticism we always feel is कि हमारी ऐप में बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, इतनी सारी चीज़ें कि कस्टमर्स को पता ही नहीं चलता, जिसकी वजह से अभी हमने रिसेंटली अल्फा 2.0 लॉन्च की, जिसमें हमने उसको सिंप्लीफाई किया है. And we always, when you speak to the teams, we always say, यार look at Google. Google is a very complicated search engine, but उसका interface is so user friendly that everybody can use it. उसके पीछे क्या होता है, वो complexity Google ने अपने पास पाली हुई है. So we have tried to do the same thing now with Alpha. Okay, we have complexities in the app. It would have personalized recommendations for you. Your screen changes depending upon the way you have been using Alpha yourself. It'll only show you those offers जो आपके साथ होती हैं. Recently we have launched a feature जिसमें जो हमारी इंशाल्लाह इस हफ्ते की रिलीज़ में आ रहा है, location based limits. So हम आपको propose करेंगे based on your historic data आपकी 2 most frequently used locations जहाँ से आप ऐप के ऊपर log in करते थे, and we'll say कि ये आप choose कर लें, इसमें से आपकी safe location क्या है, safety feature safe location क्या है, इधर हम आपको higher limits दे देंगे, much higher limits than the rest of the market, right? आप transact करें for 24 hours and then 24 hours में फिर वो limit नीचे चली जाएगी. So yeah.
So I think it's great that you bring the point about currency in circulation. It's been a pet issue since forever. Currency in circulation as a percentage of M2 is about maybe 1/3, almost 28-29%. You said 1/3 is just currency in circulation sloshing around. Okay. So one thing is, okay, how do you reduce that currency in circulation? And that largely happens through more digital payments mechanism. Do you think that overall, I've got 2 questions here. Do you think since this adoption, overall digital payments have increased? If digital payments across the board have increased, then why currency in circulation isn't going down? Secondly, what needs to be done to really massively escalate the usage of payments through digital medium rather than through cash? Because I mean, even if you go out right now, I don't have any cash in my pocket right now. I'll just go and like use a credit card or something, not any digital payments medium. Like, you know, if I would want to use my phone, I will not be able to use that for multiple reasons, for multiple friction. So what do we really need to do to ramp up digital payments in the country?
That's a loaded question. So देखें, पहले सवाल का आपका जवाब ये है कि have the digital payments increased? Yes, they have increased. But have they increased to an extent to reduce the cash in circulation? No, it hasn't, right? It has barely scratched that surface. इसके multiple reasons हैं. I think misnormally लोग कहते हैं कि जी क्योंकि point of sale machine लगानी पड़ती है लोगों को, तो उसकी cost है उस point of sale machine की. I say that is not the real reason. The real reason is the merchant discount rate. One of the reasons is the merchant discount rate. क्योंकि acceptance point आप मुख्तलिफ किस्म के acceptance point लगा सकते हैं. आप QR भी as a acceptance point लगा, QR के स्टिकर की तो कोई cost नहीं होती ना, बट वहाँ पे क्या acceptance हो रही है, यानी क्या transaction हो रही है. आपने QR बेतहाशा लगे हुए देखे होंगे, आप किसी दुकानदार से जाकर पूछें भाई इस पर कितनी transaction होती हैं, साफ नहीं होती. जब बैंक वाले आते हैं मैं साफ़ करके ऊपर रख देता हूँ, इसको फिर नीचे रख देता हूँ. So I think the one of the bigger impediments in our society, unfortunately. अच्छा, by the way, MDR is not an alien concept the world over. You know this, right? हर पूरी दुनिया में MDRs हैं. हमारे यहाँ MDR की शरह ज़्यादा है, 1.5%, 1.25% की भी शरह है. बाकी societies में भी है, but over the years they have brought it down. But the MDR exists, and the merchant happily pays the MDR for the convenience that the bank is offering him, so that the customer can make a payment using a card or a digital medium or a tap and phone के ऊपर. So आपके केस में sorry, I'll just take 1 minute to just complete my thought on this. So हमारे केस में आपने जैसे कहा कि जी या वो एक्सेप्ट करेगा नहीं, कार्ड लिखा लगा होगा कार्ड पेमेंट एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते, और अगर करेंगे तो 1.5% आपको ऊपर पड़ेगा. So what he's doing is he's passing on a merchant discount rate that he should have absorbed as a merchant to the customer, because cash is king and he's saying यार मुझे cash लाकर दे दो तो free हो जाएगा. अच्छा, that problem is a real problem, it exists. हम उसको deny करते रहें, हम जितना कहते रहें मर्चेंट्स को कि यार तुम इसको नहीं किया करो, वो आज तक तो माना नहीं है, पिछले 70 साल में अभी आगे भी नहीं मानेगा. What's the way forward? I think the way forward is this fantastic scheme by the central bank called Raast. Raast eliminates cards as a medium or schemes as a medium for in the case of domestic issuing and acquiring या domestic acceptance जहाँ हो रही है. देखिए हमारी आपकी 95% ट्रांजेक्शन जो होती हैं वो डोमेस्टिक होती हैं, राइट. शायद 5% हार्डली, बट एज ए नेशन तो और कम होती होंगी. हम अपनी आपकी भी मिला लें तो 5% हम बाहर कहीं जाके करते हैं पाकिस्तान से बाहर, बाकी 95% हम पाकिस्तान में कर रहे होते हैं. व्हाट रास्ट डज इज स्पेशली विद द थिंग पर्सन टू मर्चेंट पेमेंट के ऊपर P2M जिसको ये कह रहे हैं, उसमें इट अलाउज द कस्टमर्स अकाउंट टू बी डेबिटेड and the merchant's account to be credited using Raast as a railroad, and it has almost close to zero MDR. They have said, the regulation says that we encourage participants not to have any MDR, but they can apply a little bit of acquiring fee if they wish to. But at least इसमें कोई issuer interchange नहीं है, यानी आपको MDR का सबसे बड़ा फैक्टर होता है उसके अंदर issuer interchange, यानी जिस बैंक का कार्ड चला है उसको आपको पैसे देने होते हैं 1%, 1.1, 1.2%, right? वो that's a bulk of your 1.5.
So that's the thing, yeah. We've solved the pricing problem with this. Let's say KG pricing is now 0, but person to merchant payments are still not picking up. How do we get that to happen? Up to the whole problem, KG MDR is there. It doesn't exist anymore. If you accept payments via Raast, the MDR is 0. There is no fee that you have to pay. But still, person to merchant payments are not picking up. Why and what needs to be done?
Yes. Now your question is about now that we have solved the problem of pricing or a disincentive rather that was seemingly for the merchant. What would it take for the digital payments at the point of sale to pick up? So here I would say, I feel there is one big problem resolved, not all of it, right? But it has resolved and it has started to pick up. I think we are now on a multi-billion rupees worth of Raast P2M payments on a monthly basis, and more is coming, inshallah. Now what needs to happen? Raast works on, it requires the customer to have a smartphone, a data enabled smartphone, and a banking app that can facilitate this transfer. When you apply these 3 barriers to entry, you start to reduce the number of people who can use it. In Pakistan, if my memory serves me right, I think there are about between 20 odd million, 17 or 18 odd million banking apps that people have, right? You apply, that's what is the published number. Now you apply a formula of how many are active, how many have a data when they go outside, how many are comfortable using their app when they go outside. I think you come to a lower number than this 16, 17 million, whatever that number may be based on your estimations. So that's the problem. So we also, now banks need to work. There are various scenarios that different banks have been working on, ourselves included, as to how can we reduce dependence on all of these instruments and yet facilitate a Raast.
I would even say the biggest barrier actually here is access to a bank account. A bank account is the biggest barrier. If you go right now, just randomly walk into a Bank Alfalah branch and someone doesn't know you, you won't be able to open a bank account.
Right.
For one reason or another, there will be 10 different reasons that you'll be given. I mean, I'll just share something with you right after this. It's embarrassing at this point. But see, that's the thing. There is this sheer reluctance of the branch, of the physical infrastructure of opening an account. I worked with SMEs earlier, worked with micro SMEs, and all, I would say 90% plus of SMEs use individual accounts to do their payments, to run their business, because when they try to open a business account, the documentation requirements are so high, they like forget about it. So that doesn't happen. So I just feel what we really need to solve for is actually the account being a core barrier to entry. How to solve this problem? Again, multiple countries have solved this problem multiple ways. India basically through a presidential ordinance opened an account for everyone. It's entirely possible. Suddenly it just took off there majorly. So I just feel we need to do something about making access to banking and formal financial transactions more participative rather than creating walled gardens. And a digital medium can do that without any biases whatsoever. Because if you're walking into a branch, if you're just not shabbily dressed, whatever, you just walk in, they won't open your account. Yeah, but an app will not judge you for who you are, unless it's judging you for your phone at this point.
Yeah. No, great and well said, Ammar. So I agree, which is what I said, that app doesn't have a mood. It doesn't judge people based on their appearances. It does judge people, but it doesn't judge people based on their appearances. So about 6 months ago, or about 8-9 months ago probably now, we started opening completely remote. First I'll talk about consumer account, then I'll talk to the business account. We started opening consumer accounts completely remotely. In the month of December and Jan, we are now opening up to 40-45% of the bank's total consumer accounts every month via a self-remote, completely digital, internet-based medium. The
Amazing.
Customer is not even coming in, right? That's a significant number now. So again, the bank is changing in that direction. Very recently, and credit goes to the central bank again, we have also gotten an approval. We went and we proposed a solution for a sole proprietor account. We said, let's start somewhere, right? We said sole proprietor. They have given us an approval of a process to run this and share with them the results for opening the sole proprietor account also digitally. Right? We last piece on there is and we'll be able to share hopefully in the next podcast the results of that also. We have also been setting up what we refer to as digital sale and service centers in these market areas where there is a high cash in circulation, currency in circulation, which is not a branch. It is a sale and service center where all the digital machines and technologies are there for merchants facilitation. So it's a merchant payments hub in a market area where the merchant can come and open a sole proprietor account online. Right? They can also do it from the shop, but if they need assistance, somebody advising, then they can still use a portal there and open an account. They can deposit their cash in that cash deposit machine that I said is open 24/7, the sale and service center. They can withdraw up to 10 lakh rupees in a single transaction from an ATM machine. Otherwise, you and I would probably withdraw 20,000 each. They can withdraw. So these multiple things they can also purchase their inventory on installments there. So I agree that one of the impediments also against or in the digital payments is not being able to open the bank account, but I just said digitally, alhamdulillah, we've now started opening.
Okay, that's wonderful. So coming back to payments, let's say I'm a consumer. This has happened multiple times and I want to pay for something using a QR. As you said earlier, banking apps, they're just so loaded with everything. But if you want to pay for some 200 rupees for it, it takes 40 seconds for the banking app to open and another 30 seconds to log in, and another 20 seconds for the OTP to come. By that time, you're like, what, I'll just take cash out because it takes 3 seconds to do that. So again, this is a very solvable problem where payments app can essentially be completely separated from your core banking app. Do you think that will just improve the overall UI and UX, user experience of it all?
I think it will. Short answer. We attended a session with the DBS Bank of Singapore, and they have it exactly like you're saying. They have a banking app, which is a very serious app where you would have your wealth in there, your money, your investments into mutual funds and sukuks and T-bills and all of that, and that you won't want to touch. That you would not want to gain access in order to make a 20 rupees, 100 rupees ki payment, right? You'll be scared forever. And then they have a payments app, which is the child linked to the parent, and it auto tops up. You can define what percentage, what amount you want it to be auto topped up if you wish it to be auto top up, and always have that slush fund in it, whatever you define. 100 rupees you can define, or 1 lakh rupees, whatever you define. And that payments app is a much more user friendly. It is less frictionless. It's quicker to upload. It probably does away from OTPs. Yes. Yes, and that's something that is in our plans.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just always give this example. I used to go to Beijing quite a bit back in the day and normally use my credit card for transactions. So one day, 1 year I went to Beijing and everyone's using Alipay. No one's even accepting credit cards anymore. So I just go and just like, what do I do? And me as a tourist could actually open an account on Alipay as well at that point in time. How much time do you think we would need to get to a point where we're basically just using phones for transactions and completely go cashless?
I don't have the answer for that. They completely go cashless.
Because we've got the rails, we've got the infrastructure now.
Yeah.
What is the missing piece that is not allowing us to do that?
Yeah, so I think we may have the infrastructure, but we just don't have enough penetration of smartphones today. And certainly smartphones which have banking apps today, or certainly smartphones with banking apps who have data in it today, right? So it will take some number of years before those enablers are there.
Okay.
And then people's acceptance will start to come in. Right now, it's only people like yourselves who are digitally savvy would bother, as you rightly said, taking a phone out, logging into an app. Even you said you would give up. But it's not because the other people don't want to do it, but they just don't have the means to do it today. Now, what is incumbent upon the banks is, or the financial institutions or payment service providers is, or there's a new terminology which is coming, payment initiation service providers, that they should make it as inclusive as possible without the need for these three instruments that I just talked about. Cards have done it very successfully.
Yes.
Why do you think cards are successful? Because card is a dumb asset. It's just something. It exists. It's always on.
It's just plastic.
It's plastic. It's always on. The chip is a miracle, right? It has your data. It doesn't need charging. Keeps it simple. The whole requirement is on the merchant side to have a device, to have a printer roll, to make sure the data is connected to the device and everything. So we need to make phone payments as dumb as card payments.
So again, coming to that, I think that's a great analogy where we can pivot from. In different markets of the world, payment mediums are completely different. If you go to North America or Europe, tap and go is so seamless. I don't recall the last time I actually paid through hard currency in any Western jurisdiction. You go to the East, it's just scan everywhere. So every jurisdiction, every market has evolved according to its preferences. I mean, you will not see any scan and go type thing in North America or somewhere. It will be there, but tap is the way forward there. So what do you think is the way forward in Pakistan? And considering our demographic, and we just said, plastic is as dumb as anything can be. Do you think something combined with, let's say, plastic and some kind of a smart POS where you do not need a machine and MDR is super low is basically, and you do not need a phone for that either, is basically the way forward? I'm just thinking out loud here.
I like the way you're thinking. Yes, that's the way forward. To look, MPOS, what you refer to as a smart POS, has its own limitations. We have tried that with MPOS and it remains to be seen. I'm not shutting it down completely, but what happens is when you make a merchant's personal phone a point of sale device, that's his personal phone.
Oh, okay.
He'll go for the prayer, he'll go for the toilet breaks. That means the POS is not there because that's his personal phone, right? You saved money by not deploying a POS there, but the downside is that the phone is with that guy, and if the guy is not there, Arshad bhai nahi hai, so the machine doesn't work. So what we need to do is have a cheaper acceptance device.
Yeah, that's right.
Which doesn't have all this shebang of printer rolls and all of that. You can start eliminating things from that device and start to bring the price point down. And then conversely, rightly so, as you said, on the issuer side or the customer side, you also need to now introduce dumb terminals to them, which doesn't require charging. And even if you're using the phone, then there should be a way. For example, I tell you, QR scanning through camera is just a medium to accept.
Yeah, yeah.
It hasn't been come in a book from us that this is the only way.
This is the only way
Yeah,
to do it.
you can do RFID, you can do NFC, you can do
Multiple
all
ways
sorts of things.
Crack this.
So we are exploring all of those options, and we are seeing early successful signs also. For example, a very long time ago, just to finish this with some thought process, we put a sticker behind the phone. It was an NFC sticker.
Yeah.
It made even a feature phone a smartphone with that one sticker.
With this an NFC, because
it was an NFC sticker. Yeah. So it required a charge device on the other hand and then a sticker on this end. And as soon as the customer tapped his or her phone with literally a sticker pasted at the back, it was accepting.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is, this is where we need to get to.
Yeah.
And hopefully with some of the experiments that we are doing, we'll get there, inshallah.
Okay, wonderful. So RFID, I mean, it's great. I like where the conversation is going. What next? How? Okay, let me just rephrase this question. How do we get to let's say, reduce the currency in circulation from 28%, just a very macro, to let's say 10%? How do we get to a point where no one's just carrying cash? I mean, there are multiple ways to look at it. You've got, as we discussed earlier, we need more passive solutions, more dumb solutions. Okay, just one more thing actually, before I get to that. Have you tried re-engineering or locally engineering acceptance devices, the POS devices? And how is the experience there?
Yeah, it's fine. All you need is just a device which has an NFC in it. NFC is not, even if the NFC chip is imported, but the device can be made here, and it's been successful. And now, frankly, if I tell you the price point at which we can make something locally, you can almost get at the same price point from China. Yes, I understand that the flight to dollar is an issue. That's why we prefer that we at least assemble this low cost device locally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and why then don't we see a massive rollout of POS devices?
Well,
what's the blocker there?
Hopefully you'll see. I think there is no, with Raast, after Raast coming in, people have realized that you do not need a scheme in order to make a payment.
Agreed.
In Pakistan.
Agreed.
This wasn't the case up until literally 6-7 months ago, until Raast P2M had come in.
Yeah.
Even right now, Raast P2M is on a pilot stage.
I know.
By the way, right? So I think it's just a matter of time. People will realize, I don't need a card scheme. If I don't need a card scheme, I don't need an approved POS device. I can have any POS device that just establishes a connection using whatever methodologies.
And Raast, through Raast, you can also pay on a POS device?
Yes, you can. It's working today. Today, through a regulation of a central bank or instruction of a central bank, all POS acquirers have been instructed to display a Raast QR on their POS devices.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay.
Right? Some have done it, some are doing it. That means if you walk today to any merchant who happens to have a POS, you say, generate a Raast QR for me. He has to do it for you.
Okay, I was not aware.
Right. Then on the other hand, on the issuer side, again central bank instructed all issuer apps to accept that QR that has been generated on Raast, so that your app should be able to read that QR, because up until that time, only scheme QRs were being read, Visa and MasterCard.
Okay.
Visa and MasterCard.
Visa and Master.
Right.
Okay.
So now 3 or 4 banks, not all right now, but 3-4 big banks have also made their apps compliant, that they can read that Raast generated QR. So today, if you happen to be a customer of the big 4 banks, big 5 banks, you can potentially walk into any store outside and say, and make a transaction with a 0 MDR.
Okay. So ideally, the merchant should actually encourage this.
They do. They are as they are encouraging as much as they used to encourage an online transfer. After COVID, a lot of merchants now say, "Sir, online transfer kar de."
I know. Last night, literally, I just didn't have transfer bata.
Yeah.
Just use one of my payments app and just did it. But I think that is another behavioral change that will eventually happen.
Yes.
That if I ask your account number bata do, you just give me a QR ke scan kar do.
Yeah.
That's how it should work.
Exactly. I do want to get to your first part of the question, which was what else is needed now to increase the payments. Right? Now the answer to that is credit.
Okay.
Right? Something closer to your heart also. If a merchant knows, so okay, you solved one problem of him not accepting cash because you now brought digital payment at par with cash by eliminating MDR.
Yeah. The cost is zero.
Is zero.
The financial cost is
financial
zero.
Cost. No, it's no better.
The friction is still there, but the
friction
financial
still
cost
there.
is zero.
The financial. So the merchant still says, okay, you have now, after like 70 years, you have brought the digital payment at par with cash. I'm still good with cash. Right? There are lots of whatever reasons for him to accept cash, right? That we may know. But by the way, not 100% of the merchants think like that for tax avoidance purposes.
No,
right?
they don't actually.
Right?
Yeah.
They say, they don't also realize the embedded cost of managing cash, unfortunately. They say there is no cost.
True.
There is no cost for me.
It's a very, very high cost.
And we tell them, look, the cash that is stuck in your till for 3 days, it means you're losing out earning profit on that cash. If this was instantly in your account, you would have been earning profit on that.
And there's a security risk.
And the security.
There's a lot of friction that people just don't.
And the logistic risk that they have to take it in also. But they don't realize it. So they say, okay, now you brought it at par, so what? I'm still good with cash. Right? Now the answer lies in credit. If he has been accepting cash, we cannot give him credit. You would know better than anyone, because unless his sales in purchases are recorded, no financial institution.
This is literally what I've been telling people. You want credit, you need to go formal. There is no way you're going to get credit by just operating on cash forever.
Correct. Right?
That is like everything.
So now that he starts to accept that, we were talking earlier in the break about the POS financing. This is what it is. Okay, you accept digital transactions, then okay, we come forward and we will give you financing on those digital transactions, because we will see how many transactions are coming in on a monthly basis, so we can tell the sales that you are doing, and we'll give you an X% of that sales on a monthly basis as a running finance or running finance capital for you, and then we'll deduct from that monthly sales in every single transaction that is coming in. So merchant says, okay, now I think digital transaction is better than cash, because if I do digital transaction, I get credit. Same applies to so now you have aligned the interest of the merchant, you have to align the interest of the customer. Customer says, why should I give? He wants digital money. I don't want to give him digital money. What's the incentive for me to give digital money? Now the mistake that we did earlier was, we started giving incentive to customers by giving half a burger free or a burger free or a cold drink free, biryani free for making a transaction through Q. That's not the right way.
Agreed.
That is telling them that it's a deal driven model. Right? What the customer needs to know is okay, we are doing on a monthly basis multi-billion rupees worth of buy now pay later transactions. That is credit transactions. Now buy now pay later would not work on cash. Right? So we say to the customer, this is our ongoing thing ever since we existed, which we say, if you use a credit card, and it doesn't have to be Bank Alfalah's credit card, any bank's credit card, on our POS, which is the one which is signed up with us for the BNPL, you can get the inventory from them on installments. Now the incentive of the customer is aligned in order to make a digital payment. So the customer says, I want to make a digital payment because I want to buy this phone on installments. It would have cost me 700,000 in a lump sum. I can pay 70 grand on a monthly basis. Okay, I'm happy. I've given you a very high example, but it can also work on a So he says, okay, I want to make a digital payment. The merchant says, okay, I want to accept a digital payment because there is A, zero MDR, and B, it increases my chances of getting a running finance line or a merchant finance line.
And expand my business in the process.
Expand my business.
All right, that's wonderful, Yahyah. Thanks a lot for your time. I think we dug really deep into it. And thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll just see you in a few weeks and figure out what's happening next then.
Thank you, Ammar, for having me. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Shukriya.
All right, everyone, this is it. Thank you for watching. Till I see you again. Bye.